So, Sean, welcome to the summit. I'm glad that you decided to work with us on this because you cover an area that I think is probably in the top three things that a speaker needs in order to control the perception of who they are. And I like to call this speaker packaging. And the packaging is of a speaker is how they appear when you first see them, what their website looks like, what their speaker reel looks like, how they present themselves, if they got professional photos. I haven't found anybody who has productized that service better than you. So I wanted you to come on today to just talk about the importance of that, how you do it, and how it's helped you to get more corporate gigs just by looking more corporate.
Absolutely, Ron. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak on your platform. It is an amazing platform, and hopefully we'll get into some conversations today that will really help speakers understand how to position themselves to get into corporate spaces, corporate events, and nonprofit and other spaces where they can speak. But the Leadership Experience Tour is known for helping speakers with their branding. And we pride ourselves in putting speakers on a big stage, not for the sole purpose of just getting their message out, but for the purpose of putting their message out on a professional stage and documenting their talk in such a way where when people watch it, they hear a great message, but it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So many times speakers are wondering, how can I get the opportunities? Well, you can apply for paid speaking opportunities all the time. You know this, and you provide a platform for people to do that. But no one's going to pay a speaker $15,000 for an hour, 15-minute presentation with a 15-minute question to answer without seeing them on stage first. And the better the stage, and the better the lighting, and the better the video work, it gives the decision maker a easier decision to make when it comes to who they're going to bring into their conference. Is that video work. The other thing that we do besides putting speakers on a big stage is that we have them go through 5 different interviews. That 5 different backdrops, 5 different interviewers, 5 different producers, and we ask them questions about their platform. What value do they bring to society? What unique position do they have in today's marketplace? Like, what makes them authentic as an individual, as a human being? Because it's one thing to speak on stages, it's another thing to have a platform where you can bring people to you. Those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you've done really well is you bring in the media. So those interviews just isn't some fake stage you made. Each magazine editors that are there. You have television. Last time I went to your thing last year in March, and they were recording a live TV show, kind of like the the table or whatever they call it, the blue table talks or whatever they call it, right? They were recording a TV show that's on TV. They were interviewing the different magazine editors and their journalists were interviewing people in different rooms. You had a professional photographer that you could get your headshots and all of those things done. And I didn't get it at first. I'm like, okay, this is an event, it has media and all of that. And then when I saw the end result, when I saw someone's package at the end, I said, oh, this is cheating. This is freaking cheating. And I think people misunderstand the value. I'll give you an example of this. I own an iPhone. I love iPhones, and every iPhone I get, every year I get the new one. You know what I also get? I get the box, and I never throw that daggone box away. I got a stack of iPhone boxes that in Colombia, like the ones I had in the U.S., I got them here in Colombia, which is stupid, right? No, but why? Because the packaging is so good. When you open that iPhone box and you peel that little thing off, you like, oh, I got some.
Right.
That's what you do to speakers. Like
Right.
you put them in this pretty box, right? It's like what they say, we gonna get them casket sharp. You get them casket sharp, right? And it's amazing because it changes the perception of how I viewed certain speakers that, whether they were new, intermediate, or expert. I was surprised by how many of them weren't packaged properly. So can you talk a little bit more about why you use real magazines, real journalists, real TV instead of just something that's fake?
Yeah, absolutely. Because those things, if you're serious about building your speaking business, those things are absolutely critical. Because here's the fact: if I apply for a paid speaking opportunity, the event planner, they're going three places. First, they're going to your Google. They're going to search your name, and the question becomes, what pops up on your name, right? Your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your TikTok page, right? Any other social media may pop up, right? Then your YouTube videos, if you're fortunate enough to have some YouTube videos, that'll pop up. But then what's next, right? There should be publications that is validating you as a speaker. And so if you go to my social media, I'm sorry, my Google link or my Google page, you'll see that after all those things I just mentioned, I'm in publication after publication after publication after publication. So when the event planner looks at me, they see that I'm very credible. That is important, not from the standpoint to say, hey, I'm just great, look at me. It is important so it says to them, pay me. In other words, I'm not a free speaker. It's very obvious that there's a cost that's associated with bringing me to your platform. That's number one. Number two, they're going to your social media. And they're not going to your business page 9 times out of 10. They're going to search your name and they're going to your personal page. While most people, when you look at their social media, you see them going out to dinner and they're having fun with the kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? They're showing them playing basketball or football, their sports, and all the different hobbies on vacations they're going to. But on my page, all you see is my platform. You see all the stages I'm going to. You see where I'm flying to and who I'm working with and who I'm collaborating with. You're seeing me on stage, on podcasts, on news. And so now again, it is saying to someone who's looking at me to bring me to their stage, is saying he does this frequently. He does it at a high level. It says pay me. And then they're going to go to your website. And your website should be aesthetically pleasing and has content that directly connects with your target audience. And when the event planner goes to all three places and they see nothing but professionalism, and this is what you do for a living, it makes it easier for them to make the decision to bring you in. And it also says, pay me. This is why, Ron, I never, ever, I never feel bad about my pricing when I'm in front of a customer. It doesn't matter if it's a company that has 5 people or a company that has 250,000 people. My price is always $22,000, $22,500 for an hour and 15 minute and a 15-minute question and answer, and I never deviate from it. It doesn't mean that I always get it, but the reason I'm so confident with that number is because I know when they look me up that everything they see aligns with that number. And that's why the packaging, the pictures, the branding photos, it's important. Because when you're doing your promotional materials, you should have a top-notch branding photo. When you're doing your bios, you should have a top-notch branding photo. When you're doing your speaker proposal, there should be a top-notch branding photo. When you have a backdrop, there should be a top-notch branding photo. When you're doing your retractable banners, there should be a top-notch branding photo. And so we provide them with all the things that are necessary that helps them to look the way that they should look if they're going to be a well sought after speaker. That's what we look for, is to put you in a position to when you leave us, you look like a sought after speaker, and now we're going to help you get to that level where people are seeking after you.
I think that's incredible. I like that you stick with your price. And someone told me a long time ago. They said, "Ron, I do deals. I don't do discounts." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And they said, "Well, my price may be this. I'm willing to do a deal with you and give you a little bit lower monetary price in exchange for you giving me something. That's a deal. But I'm not going to give you a discount." And I said, "Oh man, that is brilliant because it still establishes you as the premium player. And if they want to add something else, in exchange for that. They want to pay you some other way, right? Hey, Ron, I can't do 22,005, or Shawn, I can't do 22,005 for this one, but I can do a deal with you, right? If you give me on 3 stages, I'll do 15 per for all, I'll do 45,000 for all three of your chapters instead of 22,005 for all three. That's a deal, not a discount. And I think that being able to do those types of deals, learning to negotiate, you have the leverage when you look good. What Dion say? If you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, they pay good. I think you bring that to the stage, man. So let's talk about that a little bit more because I get excited talking to you because I like when somebody is like the best at it.
It's a great topic, and a lot of speakers they ask me a question like this: Do you ever bend? And it goes back to what you're saying. No, I don't bend, right? It is always a deal, and just know that when you look the part and you have the gift, right? They all have to line up. That if I say 22.5, the answer when they want you, the answer is never no. It's never going to be no. I know I'm going to say 22.5. The worst thing they're going to come back and say, well, Shawn, we don't have that in the budget, right? Is there something else that we can do? And I always come back and I'll say something like this. Okay, so where can you get me? What's the closest you can get me to that? And they may come back and say, well, Shawn, we can give you 12 grand. And I'll say, I don't mind doing 12 grand if you guys allow me to give an offer from the stage. In other words, I got a bunch of decision makers in front of me with different corporations. You allow me to give an offer on the stage that you endorse, and you give me a hard break after I give that offer for 15 minutes. And and here's my offer. I want to give every decision maker, because I got a bunch of owners in front of me, they can call me in, they can book me. This is one of my offers for $1,000 for a full day. Right now, today, and the only catch is they have to pay for my airfare, my hotel, and my food, but they have to go give Marcus right over at that booth their credit card right now. 1,000. So there'll be about sometimes 300-400 people in front of me. We'll pick up about 40 credit cards right there. We take a break, a hard break right at that point. Marcus, he can't even track the credit cards. They come over so fast. Half the people don't even know why they're giving the credit card. They don't even know why they're giving the credit card. It's just the deal was so good. I gave them an offer that they could not refuse. They just got a world-class presentation on the stage where I engaged, I educated, and I entertained. And they said, you know what? For $1,000, his price is normally $22,500. Let me go get my credit card. Half of the people will call me and they will set up an appointment for me to come out. The $1,000 is not what I'm angling for. The $1,000 is you're paying for me to do what I wanted to do in the first place, which was to come into your company, have a discovery call, give your folks a presentation, identify what their needs are, and sign you to a 1-year contract. So that $1,000 generally turns into a 10, 15, 30, 50, sometimes even $100,000 contract, and all of a sudden 40,000 turn into 700,000. That's you have to understand what are you trying to accomplish and having your deals ready, knowing that they're probably going to come back and say, I can't afford this, but have it ready. But if you can do this, then I'm all in with you.
No, that is, dude. Hopefully they go back and rewatch this part. Rewind and rewatch just that part. That dude, that is a gem because most of the time, most people aren't thinking. I love how you structured the deal. You structured the deal with the host, and you said, look, y'all get to approve it. So it's not like you did something slimy. You said, look, you can't provide me with this price. Give me another option to make my price back.
Yeah. You know what? You know what's funny, Ryan? You know what's funny? Sometimes the decision makers come back. You gonna give us a cut of that? Like we seen on credit cards. You gonna give us a cut of that? I mean, they just joking. But they like you made more money doing that than we were if we would have paid the 22.5. So it's almost like you had this in your back pocket. I get that sometimes. I said that was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about what are some of the essential elements of making a person look good. If you're a new speaker and you need to look the part, like when Rolls Royce comes out with a new car, they don't come out with $100 version. They don't come out with a $20,000 version. It's still a Rolls Royce, so it still has some level of standard of excellence that it needs to represent. So if I'm a new speaker, I probably have a standard of excellence that I want to achieve. What are people looking for? What are the event planners looking for that can set me apart?
I'm going to tell you the tape is absolutely critical. Having a tape where it's 45 minutes long is not what you should submit. A 45-minute tape is the worst thing that you can send to somebody because they're only going to listen to 3 to 4 minutes of your presentation, and they're probably not going to see the best version of you in that 3 to 4 minutes. That's why when people come onto our stage, they only get 10, and we're forcing them to be great at the beginning because we know that the span that they're going to watch that video is 3 to 4 minutes. That's number one. Number two, your clothes, what you wear, it matters. Uh, Ron, I walk around town in a jogging suit and sometimes with my jogging pants tucked into my socks. Right, I'm just an old school guy. But when I get on stage, my suits they're $1,500 Armani suits, and the reason that I wear expensive clothes on stage because I know that before you open your mouth, the audience is forming an opinion of you based on what you have on. And so we talk about your brand clothing, with the folks that come to the tour. We've even taken them shopping, with Montclair to the Montclair store. We had them go shopping to find great things that would represent their brand at the highest level. Now, once you got your clothing right, now it's about what comes out of your mouth. And at the end of the day, it's important for speakers to understand that 10% of communication is verbal. That's it. So whatever comes out of my mouth, that's only 10% of communication. 40% is pitch, tone, and rate of speed. And that's why sometimes I'm on the stage, I talk really fast, I discuss an engagement mechanism, and Ron, sometimes I slow down. It tends to bring people in. 50% of communication is body language, is face expressions, is hand gestures, is eye contact. And all I'm trying to say to speakers is this, is that 90% of communication is nonverbal. And speakers who master the nonverbal communication aspect of delivering a message are some of the best communicators in the world. As a matter of fact, your content can just be god awful. But if your nonverbal communication skills are tight, people thought they heard the best presentation of all time. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that anybody do something like that. I'm just giving that as an example. So the nonverbal is what engages the audience. Number two, the education, the delivery of the message. There's so many good speakers out there. Being a good speaker is not good enough for you to build a speaking business. You have to be exceptional. There's a lot of speakers that are saying the same exact thing. There's only so many ways to say certain things. But if you want to be exceptional, you have to take what people say all the time and say it uniquely different. It's the same thing, but the way you said it resonated with me better. Right? You can't talk like everyone else talks when you're on the stage. So you got to be different. And number three, which is the one that most speakers have problems with, is the comedic relief. There's got to be comedic relief in every presentation. And it doesn't matter how somber your presentation is. There should be times in the presentation where you put a smile on the audience face. People should enjoy the presentation that they're listening to. So if I get on the stage and I look good, and then when I communicate, I sound good, and then I can even make you laugh, and then you're actually learning something in the process, that's the recipe, right, to being sought after. That's the recipe for getting someone to say, you know what, I want to bring that person in, because at the end of the day, most people don't want to sit in front of somebody and listen to them for 1 hour because they're boring 95% of the time.
There's a difference between being a lecturer and a speaker, right? And a lot of times at the beginning, we know our information, but we don't know our presentation. So we lecture, right? And then as we get in front of more and more stages, we stop being a parrot. And what I call a parrot is the speaker that everything they say is a quote from somebody else. And it's like, dude, spend an extra hour taking those quotes and putting them in your own words. Give your perspective on the quote. Don't go up there telling me John Maxwell said this. If I wanted to hear John Maxwell, I would have went and got John Maxwell. I want to hear Shawn, right? You know. So I think people lecture because they're not comfortable with their presentation skills yet, right? And then they're still trying to find their way. But this packaging part, see, packaging doesn't come with practice. Presentation comes with practice. The packaging, you can get that right out the gate, right? So there's no excuse for someone not to have their packaging right because they can do that without any experience. What you were just talking about, requires them to get on more stages, more podcasts, more small groups, more bigger stages in order to better their presentation. So what else does the new speaker need in order to elevate himself so that he stands out? You mentioned a 3 minute reel, right? And how that 3 minute reel needs to be important. But what else are
Well,
they
the
missing?
other part is the real gets you in the door, right? That's a part of getting you in the door, along with the transformation of your social media, your Google profile, and your website, which are all the things that are in our packaging, right? The amount of content that we give to a speaker, they can chop it up into about 50 pieces, right? That transforms their social media. But when they get into the door and the event planner says, you know what, we want you, and you guys agree to that, then you got to have a promo reel. A lot of folks are using the promo reel to try to get into the actual event. Worst mistake that you can make. No one wants to hear you and a bunch of music and things flashing on the screen because that's deceptive. I don't know what you really sound like, and I want to know and understand what my audience is going to get. They want to hear you in raw form. But after that occurs, then they want the promo reel. And they're going to use the promo reel to help to promote their event so that they can get an audience coming into their venue that benefits them, that also benefits you. So that promo reel is so important. Now, if the speakers are going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different interviews, this is all being captured on TV quality cameras, and they're doing a rehearsal with a different backdrop, and then they're going on stage doing the big event with a different backdrop. Now we can put together compilation promo videos where we're taking a little bit from this interview, a little bit from this interview, a little bit of you on stage, a little bit of your photo work, and now we put together this amazing piece, right, that really highlights the very best of you, in about 3 hours worth of footage, and we put it all within a 90-second piece that really impacts whoever's going to watch that video. So the promo reel is next on the list.
Gotcha. So I want to share something because I think you've done one of the people always ask me, who's the guy at the bottom of you all's homepage? And it's you, right? Like I liked what you did so much. I'm like, we got to show like this is how it should be done, right? So I want to share something because I want people to see that you walk it like you talk it. It's not just you making this up. You actually are walking and living and breathing this. So here, one second. Let me share my screen and I want to share this, right? So when someone types in Shawn Fair, the photos come up. I mean, it's you with important people. When they see you on Google, they see you on stages, they see you everywhere. It's Shawn. It is there. There's no mistake that they're talking to the right person. They found Shawn the speaker, right? But then on your speaker up profile, what you've done, which I thought was great. Let me type it in here, Shawn Fair. You're always my demo of the speaker up profile because you've put look, you got all of your credibility at the top. You got a great header. All of your stuff is here about your bios, but you show them if they're hiring you to come into a room full of rounds, you got a photo of you in a room full of rounds. If they want to show you on the big stage, you got photos of you on the big stage. You got 15 different speaker reels, right? You got 137 different photos of you in different stages doing it. So I really use you as an example because some people be talking about
Right.
stuff they ain't doing. And I'm like, no, 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 no. No. And here's the thing, you don't have to be famous to do this. A lot of people watching this have never heard of Shawn Fair before, but your presentation is right up there with Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard. Same way when you Google them and we Google you, you show up the same way at the same level, even though you may not be known to billions of people. You still give the impression that you're worth every penny that they
Absolutely.
pay you for.
Absolutely. And that's what it all boils down to. And if if you're not if you don't if you haven't gone through a program like the Leadership Experience Tour where you're getting all of these things so you can reshape that Google, your social media and your website, you can't compete with me. You can't compete with me. Right? So my speaking and my travel is overwhelming. I'm in 2 3 states every single week. I'm constantly on the go, and it's just because. uh, and by the way, that Speaker Hub's profile, I haven't updated that with some of the newest content in forever. I got so much content on a weekly basis. It's hard for me to keep up with my own content, but at some point I'm gonna have to do that. But when you look that way, it's not only will people just want to bring you on stage, not only when you apply, they say, wow, this is the person that I want to put out there because when I tell my audience about them, they're going to look him up and they'll see that and it's going to make us look good. But there will be people that want to collaborate with you. There'll be people that want to partner with you. There'll be people that want to connect with you. Like the opportunities start to just open up all because you've communicated on those platforms that you now only are credible, right? But you have all of the intangibles of helping not only an audience but helping people that have other platforms, right, become more credible as well.
No, that's huge. So you mentioned the number of gigs that you do now. How did you get up to that point? When you first started off, what were you doing in order to get on to get on your first stages?
Well, one, man, because this now we got to go back a little bit, Ron, on this because I'm old. Okay, so in 2015 when I left corporate America, I was sending out 25 to 30 LinkedIn messages to CEOs, vice president, and HR people. 25 to 35 per day. And let me tell you, that was tough. I didn't get a hit back for 6 months. For 6 months. And when I got that first hit, it ended up being a 1 year contract. It was $3,000 a month for 2 years, and I identified some things within that corporation where it bumped it up to $5,000 a month, and that was the kind of thing that started. And then after that, all that work that I had did 6 months prior, all of a sudden, ABB Robotics called me up. They want me to come in. H&H Farms, they wanted me to come in. You know, Vaughn Industries, they wanted me to come in. Like all these big companies, they wanted me to come in, and I started documenting everything and everywhere that I was going. Then I got contracted with a facilitation company, and they started booking me, and I started putting everywhere I was going on social media, everywhere. Now, so what happened was, for 2 years, I'm posting everywhere I'm going. But it was 6 months of nothing first. A lot of people, they stop, they quit because they believe nothing is happening. But that's a lie. There's backdoor conversations that's happening. You have no idea that's going on when you're doing the activity. And it just wasn't the right time for that particular individual. Everything just started coming in after 6 months. I get a phone call from Paul Glantz. Paul Glantz is the CEO of Imagine Theaters. And I didn't know who he was. I just picked up the phone. He said, Shawn, my name is Paul Glantz. You probably don't know who I am, but I am the CEO of Imagine Theaters, and we would like to talk to you. This is all because of social media and posting content, social proof that this is what I do. And he says, we'd like to talk to you in person. So, long story short, I went into his office the next week in Troy, Michigan. His secretary knew exactly who I was when I walked in the door. How you doing, Mr. Fair? I'm going to take you right back to Paul's office. He's waiting on you. I walk into his office. He's on the phone. He raised up his finger and says, Shawn, give me 1 second. Right? When he's done, this is what he said to me. Hey, Shawn, I just want to let you know that we are in the Shawn Fair business. He says, we've been watching you over 2 years. And by the way, they never liked one post. They never commented on a post. He said, but for 2 years, both myself and my director, I forget what his name is, we had been watching for 2 years, and we was wondering if you can help us out with something. We have a problem. From 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m., we have a lull in our theaters. In other words, we don't get a lot of traffic. And we was wondering if you can take your corporate trainings that you do from the corporate classroom, from the hotel conference room, and bring it to the big screen at Imagine Theaters, turn your leadership training into a production. And this is where all the stories were developed, right around this time frame. And I said, well, that sounds pretty good. What do I get for this? And he says, well, I got 26 theaters, and any one of those theaters you can have at absolutely no charge for 2 hours, anytime you want to do a training. I said, oh, really? What else do I get? He says, we'll put a marquee of you in all of our theaters 90 days before every event that you do. I said, is that right? Well, what do you guys want? He says, all we want from you is 50% of your ticket sales. He says, what would you guys charge? I says, I'm going to charge $100 for a 2-hour leadership training. He says, just give us 50%. Now, long story short, Ron, I had my first event, sold it out. Every seat was sold. And after that presentation, I got so many opportunities. I had corporate people and leaders and executives and medical people and doctors. There was all kinds of people there. Got a lot of opportunities, sold it out. Now, Paul was doing the math on this. He said, wait a minute. We just sold out this one venue. I'm getting $50. Now, back at that time, matinee was $7. That's 7 times 7, Ron, is $49. That means he sold out 7 theaters in one shot. And so I did my next one, sold it out. I brought in 2 other speakers. They got opportunities. Did my next one, sold it out, brought in 4 speakers. They got opportunities. And thus the Leadership Experience Tour was born. All because I did the activity, which was very difficult at that time. You done made this easy for everybody. But back at that time, it was very difficult. And now people are doing events from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. at Imagine Theaters. I'm the poster child as to why they got foot traffic in all their theaters to this day. Now, the software that you have, if I would have had that back then, this would have happened a whole lot quicker for me because you're giving me access to the conferences at the tip of my fingers. And I think you should actually talk about that, Ron, because people don't understand how valuable it is and how much time you're actually saving someone who is serious about getting their speaking business off the ground.
No, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, the someone told me don't complain about the results you're not getting from the work you didn't do, right? And that changed my life. He was like, look, you complain about not getting results, but you're not doing the work, so do the work, and then the things come. You were willing to do the work. Those who really want it, they figure out how to get it done, right? And then they don't stop doing the doing. They keep doing it because they know. We say it on social media all the time. People send me a message. People I see my friends, they say, man, you crazy on Instagram. And I'm like, I never post anything. They say, no, you post this one thing. And I'm like, I didn't even know you follow me on Instagram. So even though we may think that they're not watching, they are, right? Even though we think they're not paying attention. What do they say? More is caught than taught, right? So I think that sticking with it and just, like you did, they were catching what you was putting down, even when you didn't even know. And all of a sudden you end up doing this thing. So the persistence, these are the 2 things I took from that. Number 1, persistence. Number 2, do whatever you got to do to get it done. And then the third thing that may have slipped through most people's ears was, and what else do I get? Most people hear the first thing, and that's where they stop. You was like, and what else? And what else? And he just kept adding more and more opportunity to it. But if you would have just said, oh, that's great, he had no incentive to add more and to keep piling on, putting the things in the hallway, marketing it 90 days beforehand, all of it to do. Out of that $7 he was getting, most people don't know you have to give 90% of the movie ticket sales to the movie producers the first week, and then it goes down by 10% every week. That's why after like 4 weeks they stop promoting the movies because they're like, well, look, you know. But that's how it works, dude. Look, go back and watch this. If you're watching right now, go back and re-listen to what he talked about. It's huge. It's a big thing.
Ron,
You know.
I just want to say one thing, because I did mention this regarding social media, and the one thing that helped me a lot. This is for people that's new into this. Every post, you can go back 10 years. My whole social media is about my speaking. You can go back 10 years from now. The first 3 years, every post was a picture of me in some form in speaking coaching environment and content that's directly related to my target audience for the first 3 years. All you saw was my face. Facial recognition is extremely important, and the branding is extremely important. So if you see some of my videos, you see a Delta airplane flying in and a Delta airplane flying out in some of my videos as I'm going to different events. So now when I do my events, it look a little bit more attractive now than it used to look back way back then as to how I promote it. Do you know that 1 out of every 7 flights that I take, one of the stewards say, "Hey, how you doing, Shawn Fair? You all right?" 1 out of every 7 flights, I get that. I get it. And it's the facial recognition, it's the Delta planes that's going on, and people are just watching. People are watching. You have no clue is watching. The social media is the rarest, or I should say the easiest form of marketing and the least expensive form of marketing, and now people are not really taking great advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, we grew up in the '80s, and we say, you would hear people say, "Oh man, such and such was talking behind your back," and that was a bad thing. You ready to fight? Yo, what you got to say? I'm from St. Louis. You from Detroit? Yo, you talk. Say it to my face was what we used to say, right? Nowadays, I want people to be talking behind my back. Tell everybody.
Right. That's right.
I want her to see me on social media and talk behind my back.
Is right. And the other thing too, I want to just let people know, because our packaging goes well beyond the videos and the branding photos and the interviews, all those different things. But we have the systems, right? You got to have some form of CRM, Salesforce. Like we have systems in the house, and we also do ad campaigns, and I run ad campaigns 365 days a year. Now the reason I do that is because social media squelches you. They only allow you 10% of your audience to actually see you. So sooner or later, if you're going to do this on a grander scale, you're going to have to do some ad spend, right? And ad spend that is directly tied into your system. So as you're getting the people's emails and phone numbers, is going into your system so that you can nurture those clients. And so I started off, Ron, spending $5 a day on ad campaigns. $5, right? And as I'm getting more people in, and $5 would help me fill up my events. I would get the number of speakers that I needed. I went to $10 a day. Then I went to $50 a day. Then I went to $100 a day, and now $200 a day. And it's not about filling up my tour anymore. More than it's about, let me just expand the number of people in my system so that I can sell a plethora of products. And if you are a speaker, what's the other thing that we help folks with? If you are a speaker and you have no platform, you will fail. A platform is absolutely necessary. And if you're trying to be ginormous, you must have a signature event if you're a speaker. The signature event that you have allows for your target audience to see you up close and personal, so that you can maximize your influence so that you can sell your platform, your coaching business, your products, and your services. All of these things, they tie up with one another. But most folks that's trying to do this, they take one component and they try to expand on that, and they wonder why they're not getting to where they're trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be making cookies and only put eggs in it. You gotta have the flour, you gotta have the sugar, you gotta have the chocolate chips, you gotta have it all, right? And you know, dude, Shawn, there's so many gems, dude. So many gems. What are we missing? What do we leave out? We've been on for 40
Well,
minutes. What do we leave out?
here's what I would like to say for those who are listening. You know, coming to the Leadership Experience Tour gives you all of the video work that you need, the high quality television video work that sets you apart from 95% of the speakers that are out there right now. When I look at speakers' video work that has never been through the tour, it's awful. I'm not bringing you in if I'm the event planner. If that's what I'm saying. You're right. Maybe if it's one of those $500 events, you might be able to squeak into a couple of those. But if you're trying to get into that $15,000, $25,000 range, and you're not on great TV quality footage, you're going to struggle with that. So that's number one. You need to come to the tour. We'll help you with that. And it's a great 3-day experience, and you're in front of TV cameras for the 3 days that you're there. The other thing is that the piece that I like that you have, Ron, is you're taking the hard work out of finding the opportunities. So you get the video work over here, and Ron is saying, okay, now that you got all this great video work, let me show you all the conferences at your fingertips. All you got to do is take your 10 to 15 minutes a day and send out your information to those conferences. And if you just did 15 minutes of work every single day for 30 days in a month, you'll find out that you'll get opportunities. Most people just don't want to do it, but it's made life so much easier, right, to build this business. So I just want to encourage people that coming to us and getting all the video work and getting your systems and your ad campaigns and your promo videos and all those things that we do is absolutely important. Actually doing the work and applying for the paid speaking opportunities, Ron got that on lock. I don't know anybody else who's providing what he's providing at the level that he provides it. There's nobody else that's doing it. But the most important thing out of the two things I just mentioned, that if there is no consistency, don't even waste your time. If you're going to do this, you got access to phenomenal resources. And if you're just consistent and you have the gift, you'll win. You will win if you're serious.
So when I was a kid, as we finish this up, when I was a kid, I used to love when my grandma, she would make greens and cabbage and cornbread, and I could tell when she about to cook it, right? You know, and every 5 minutes I run in and I say, "Is it ready yet?" And she said, "Look at the stove." I look at the stove and the pot's still on there, and I look at the oven and the oven is still on. And she say, "What you think?" And I'm like, "No, I still go." As an adult, I look back and she never said, "Look at the microwave." Never once did she say, "Look at the microwave," right? Because the thing that I wanted, I knew took time, but even though I wanted it faster. But if I was just patient, I would be okay. A lot of times we want the greens, the cabbage, the cornbread, the Thanksgiving dinner, but we try to put it in a microwave, and we end up with a handyman meal, and we complain why it don't taste right. But it's just the patience. It's the patience and the love and the care for the industry and for the profession that people need. You'll get there. You'll get to your dream if you're willing to walk the road. And I think the first part of it is looking like you belong there. The second part is doing the work, and like you said, be consistent. Real quick before we head off, or would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
People think that I'm an extrovert. I'm more of an introvert than I am an extrovert. It's just because of the profession that I'm in, I have to be open for people. So I'm pouring out a lot, but I'm also taking a lot in from people because I'm in the people business. And when you're a speaker and a coach, let me just say that you are in the people business. If you don't like talking to people, speaking to people, listening to people, hearing people, diagnosing people, coaching people, and counseling people, I can assure you, you're in the wrong business. So this is the business that you're in. And because of that, you get drained. And when the show is over with and I can get a chance to get away, I go and get away and I go in my room and I close the door. Right? And I need that time to recharge. So just know that if you do this business long enough, you may start off as an extrovert. You're going to turn into an introvert because if people just pull so much from you. It's not a bad thing, but you can't maintain that for lengthy periods of time. So therefore, you start to want more alone time, right? But when it's time for you to be with the people, you got to be with the people, and you have to open up, and you have to have a genuine passion for wanting to help people. And let me just say this one thing, last thing, Ron. It should never be about the money. If you're in this business and it's about the money, people are going to look at you differently over a period of time. They may not see it at first, but over time, they start to see what this is really all about. Over here at the Leadership Experience Tour, it's about the people. We don't overcharge. We don't overextend people. We help people, even the people that sometimes can't afford certain things. We just genuinely, we help them because that's what we're in the business of doing. And it's a longer growth cycle when you're that way, but it's a sustainable growth cycle when you're that way. Longevity is important to us. And we pride ourselves in making sure that people are successful and they're doing the things that are necessary for them to get where they're trying to go.
You got to get a mic to drop after that, man.
Right.
You got to drop the mic on that one. Hey, Shawn, I appreciate you taking the time, man. This was great. I learned a lot. I got some different perspectives that I didn't have, even though I've been to the Leadership Experience Tour. And I know you undersold it, right? I walked away with like 500 photos that I didn't even know. Like all these people got cameras. I'm thinking they taking pictures of other people. You sent me a link. I got 800 photos of myself. I'm like, yo, who took all these extra photos? And I could use them everywhere. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me with Speaker Hub and even before we had Speaker Hub. I really appreciate it and definitely appreciate the time that you spent with us today. The smart people will listen. The smart people will be on the tour with you, get in their packaging.
Thank you so much, Ron, for inviting me. And again, we love what you're doing in the industry. You're making some changes that is really helping people, and we appreciate that on our side as well. So thank you for just happening.